A woman abandoned her sick daughter in the hospital. Years later, she regretted it when she found out who adopted her. Sophia's health condition was terrible. Unfortunately, she was born with a congenital problem that left her feet unable to move. According to doctors, the girl would remain disabled for the rest of her life. When the young mother Mila heard the news, she was very disappointed and angry. You might think she was sad about her daughter, but this wasn't the case. Instead of taking her daughter home and taking care of her, she decided to leave her, hoping that someone would come to adopt her. None of Mila's relatives knew what actually happened. They didn't even know she was pregnant because she lived far from them. When Mark, Mila's fiancé and her daughter's biological father, heard that she'd given birth, he returned from work quickly, carrying a beautiful bouquet to surprise her. However, once he got home, everything changed. He was surprised and shocked when Mila told him that she'd left their newly born baby in the hospital because she was disabled and would never be able to walk on her feet. She also said her treatment costs would be too high and they wouldn't be able to afford it. Mark was surprised and told her that what she did was inexcusable and inhumane. He quarreled with Mila and said their relationship ended at that moment and left the apartment mid-anger. The little girl remained in the hospital waiting for someone to adopt her, but several months passed and no one was willing to adopt her because she was too sick and fragile. One day, a young man came to the place where the girl was waiting to be adopted. The moment he entered the room where children were playing, his eyes immediately fell on that sick girl, Sophia. He felt that she was special. Without giving it a second thought, the man decided to adopt her. Because Sophia was the only one with all health problems, the center's workers were surprised by his choice. They wanted him to know everything about her condition, so they showed him her medical file. Yet he insisted on adopting her. Child care workers thought that the young man wouldn't return to the center after he rethought. But they were even more surprised when the young man returned the next day with a lawyer to handle the adoption process and take the girl home with him. 6 years after the young man adopted the disabled girl, Mila and her new husband, who was unaware of what Mila did with her first child, left for one of the capital's most famous clinics. They wanted to know the cause of the pregnancy's delay, but they were shocked by what the doctors said. They told her that she would never be able to have children in the future. In those moments, Mila was lost and began to cry. She remembered what she'd done to her daughter in the past. She knew what was happening to her was a punishment for what she'd done to Sophia. Mila's husband took care of her and promised that he'd take her to the best clinics in the country to help her get pregnant. When the couple got out of the clinic, Mila noticed a man holding a little girl who looked exactly like her, which attracted her attention. The man was Mark. She decided to approach her ex-fiancé and greet him. She asked him if that child was his daughter. Mark, who seemed unhappy with the meeting, told her that the girl was indeed his daughter. But when Mark's father came up and started talking to the girl and speaking her name, Mila was shocked and amazed. Didn't the doctor say she'd be disabled for her entire life? She asked Mark. He replied, "It would have been that way without the intensive treatment we gave her. When you told me that you left her in the hospital, my heart was broken, and I couldn't imagine leaving my disabled daughter alone in a hospital. I didn't rest until I found her and took her from the center to live with me. I loved her since she was in your belly, and my love for her is increasing day by day." Mark took care of Sophia for a full 3 years, taking her to the best surgeons in the country and spending a lot of money on her treatment, eventually succeeding in curing her and making her look like her peers. She could play, jump, and run like any normal child. Mark asked Mila to stay away from him and his daughter. He warned her not to try to approach Sophia because she certainly doesn't want to know anything about her mother, especially if she finds out that one day she abandoned her and left her alone in the hospital. At that moment, Mila was devastated by pain and remorse, especially when she saw the girl run towards her father, embracing him and saying, "Dad." Mila's husband overheard the whole conversation and yelled, "I want a divorce." Mila ruined her family and lost everything in her life. Indeed, it's a heartbreaking story. Sometimes many people want to have children and can't, and some simply prefer not to have them. Mila is an example. She behaved very badly. It was clear that she'd end up like this, and unlike her, Mark proved to be the best father who genuinely loved, protected, and took care of his beloved daughter. Thank you for watching. I hope you enjoyed this video. Please make sure to subscribe to our channel and hit the notification bell so you won't miss our latest uploads.